Oh, there's so many illustrations of questions. Excuse me. Of questions of why is whatever happened to me? Why am I suffering? Why am I going through disappointments and tragedies? Why me, oh God? Why me? In the beginning, I think we need to take a hold of our current situation. People that say there's no way out need to realize they have to stay the course, for answers are coming. Do you remember hearing the story this week of a young girl who at birth was born without arms and without hands? But as a young child, when she was playing and lying in the grass in her home, looked up at the skies, and often she would see airplanes, and she said to herself, I want to fly an airplane when I grow up. And the question in her mind was, how do I do it? And she kept this dream alive, and parents and friends and teachers said, you're going to be disappointed because there's no way you can fly an airplane without hands and without arms. But somehow in the creativity that God put into her mind and with her association of pilots and others, the answer came, and that is, learn to fly an airplane and run the controls with your feet. And the news report on television showed this young lady walking around her airplane, making a survey of the airplane before it was going to take off, like you've seen pilots do when you've taken flights. And then she crawled into the cockpit, and the TV camera followed her there and showed her maneuvering her feet and her toes in order to turn on and turn switches on and off and manipulate the controls with her feet. The world said you can never learn to fly an airplane without hands and arms. And the answer came, I'll learn to use my feet. Here at St. John's Lutheran Church, many people have asked questions about why are we going through such hard times? Why are people being unhappy with one another? Why are we having financial problems? And some have thrown up their hands and said, there's no future here. And I came about 3-4 weeks ago, walked in your sanctuary, and I said, this is not a house of the people, this is a house of God. This is not a pastor's palace, but a place for individuals to come in the humility of their lives and kneel at the altar and receive the assurance of the forgiveness of their sins. The question is, how are we going to survive? And the answer is to prepare for the future. Like John the Baptist said, prepare ye the way that God comes walking through. So number one, we stay the course. We examine our resources and acknowledge our abilities. One big part of our resources when people get down and discouraged is nobody cares. And I think that we need to remember that to reinforce our support group. Make a list of people who want to see you succeed, not a list of the people who can't wait for you to fail or make a mistake or have some tragedy, because all of those friends are out there cheering you on because they're not as unfortunate as you may be. But as you think about it, who wants to see me succeed? For the answer could well be in a resource that somebody else contributes to your thinking. Stay the course. Stay the course. Work out a strategy to accomplish your challenges. And then finally, in conclusion, realize that you're not going to do this alone, but that God is doing it with you. About a year ago, a friend of mine called and asked me if I'd like to go to lunch, and I said sure, and we went out to lunch, and he was happiest I've ever seen him in a long time. And he said, Pastor, he said, yesterday I had a God drop. Well, I never heard that statement before, God drop. And then he went on to explain, he said, he's a salesman, I've been working on this one prospect for a long time, and I finally got a sizable sale, and the commissions have helped bail me out of many of my financial problems. He said, I gave the praise and the thanks to Almighty God for using me to make this happen. And he said, I call that a God drop. You know, in our own lives, there are times when God does drop a gift into our hearts and our lives and our families. St. John's Church in the last 3 weeks have had a God drop. Financially, we were in deep trouble beginning of November. And as you've seen in the bulletin, God has blessed us with the generosity of the people who are here and people who are at home who have sent in contributions. We have literally had a God drop to maintain and encourage our ministry here at St. John. And I'm certain that through the month of December, leading up to Christmas, it will continue. That God may continue to work through us to make things happen.